प्रणाम। आप देखने लगे हैं गोलगप्पे चैनल। सो आज का टॉपिक, द टॉपिक फॉर टुडे इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। इसका नाम मैंने रखा है टैरिफ पर अमेरिकी कांग्रेस के अधिकार बनाम अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति के अधिकार। ओके, which means or which translates in English as what's the right of the American president and his special power versus the American Congress. As we all know, that the lower court of America or United States have rejected the tariff plan proposed by the government. Okay, the elected government. And now the case has gone to the Supreme Court. What if Supreme Court overturns this tariff proposal or the law? What will happen in that situation? Is there any plan B for the government? US President Donald Trump. So let's get into the history a little bit. 2 weeks, 3 weeks back history. US President Donald Trump new tariff on imports from more than 90 countries. So it's not one or two countries, there are 90 countries that have been impacted. Now, viewers would like to know, for a layman, what's tariff? What does tariff mean? Is it like some kind of a tax or some kind of a sanction? So at a very high level, tariff means that the companies which bring foreign goods into the United States will have to pay the taxes to the government. And experts say these companies may pass the cost on to the consumer. So this is the entire scheme of things as far as tariff is concerned. Brazil faces the highest tariff along with India, both 50%. For India, it was 25%, and then the government put a 25% secondary tariff as a punishment for India buying the Russian oil. Then comes the other countries, right? So Brazil, India, and even Mexico. The tariff that Mexico is facing, or the Canada is facing, both Mexico and Canada are part of the North American continent. Just few years back, they were all part of the NAFTA alliance. And see the turn of the event, that both the northern neighbor and the southern neighbor of the United States have been sanctioned with a tariff of 35%, and then there is a threat to increase it further. Okay. Things changes here so fast. So today 35 could be 25 or could be 55. We don't know. It's that dynamic or fluid situation here, guys. So then I did a little bit of reading of the US Constitution, and I will be sharing with you in this program, because once the emotion and all the narrative war ends, the discussion will then come to the point where what happens if the Supreme Court takes away the president's order, which is over the US Congress, which is the ultimate in passing such tariff laws. How will that be impacted, right? So before I go there, I would like to share with you, viewers, what are the different articles of the US Constitution which covers the tariff discussion or recommendation for the government. So the Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 2, and Article 1, Section 9, Clause 3. Now, the Clause 1, which is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, it clearly says US Congress can impose tariffs and must make them uniform. Okay. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 says US Congress regulates trade and tariff with foreign nations, and 90 of them have been listed by Trump government. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 says states cannot set tariff on imports or exports without US Congress approval. And the Article 1, Section 9, Clause 5 says federal government cannot tax exports from any state. Very important. Okay. So, in summary, US Constitution vests tariff authority in US Congress, not the President of America or the states, which is run by the governors, with explicit restriction and requirements for uniformity and federal control. So you heard what the Constitution of the United States is states lays for the lawmakers. So in this situation, it's coming to a very interesting phase where if it goes to the court, there may be a chance that the Supreme Court will overrun. The lower courts has already done that. So what is the plan B if the government still wants to continue with this? So one of the official of the Trump administration, Mr. Bessent, he expects that the Supreme Court will uphold the legality of the Trump's tariff, but he also eyes plan B. So what could be the plan B? How many of you know about the plan B or could even guess what the plan B could be? Bessent and the officials have identified several existing statutes. It's a legal term, right? Statutes. Sorry, my tongue is a little bit getting in a tricky situation now. So status that could be used as a fallback option. And what are those? There is something called Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338. This allows imposing tariff up to 50%. Okay. So this allows the tariff up to 50%, but only for 5 months. Okay. On the countries deemed to discriminate against US trade. Now, that has to be proven that the 90 countries suddenly are discriminating. So the trade deficit could not be the only logic of make sounding a discrimination. It is also what are you selling? Are you enough selling? Are you doing marketing? So many things. Is your product meeting the quality standards the of the other countries? Is it meeting the price standard, the cost? So many things will be asked. So you heard about what Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 says. Then Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. This was used previously for the steel companies and the aluminum tariff if imports are seen as a national security threat. Then comes Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. This authorizes tariff in response to the unfair trade practices after governmental investigation. Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974 permits a baseline tariff up to 15%, 1 5, on all the imports for up to 150 days. Okay, without the congressional approval, only 15%, and that also for 5 months, right? This can act as a temporary stopgap while further action or investigations are conducted, right? Which we've said that you have to prove that this is a discrimination against the U.S. trade practices. Now, Section 201 safeguard measures. This allows the temporary tariff to protect domestic industries from sudden import surges. So, all these correlation has to be proven. Now, how Plan B would work, right? A lot of question will be around that. The administration, which is the Trump administration, could quickly invoke Section 122 to establish short-term baseline tariff on all imports, while using Section 301 and Section 232 to target specific countries or products for higher and longer term tariff. And this could be for, there's no guess here, Brazil, India, and Mexico, maybe Canada too, the way things are shaping up. These statutes require more procedural steps, such as investigation of findings of inquiry to the US industry, meaning they are less flexible than the emergency powers law but still provide substantial authority for imposing tariff. Do you understood that? Now, Plan B could not replicate the breadth and speed of IEEPA based tariff, but is considered a robust backup to maintain the economic and national security pressure. Okay. So, as we are saying, Section 338 Smoot-Hawley tariff scope could be up to 50% on discriminating nations. Section 122 up to 15% on all imports. Section 301 targeted tariff. Section 232 national security related tariff. And Section 201 safeguard tariff. Now, first one is for 5 months, second one is for 150 days, third one is for after investigation. Then section 232 is indefinite, and section 201 is temporary. This are used for retaliatory tariff, baseline temporary tariff, unfair trade practices, steel and aluminum for security purpose, and surge in imports if somebody is trying to flood the market. So, in conclusion, Plan B means pivoting to these alternative statutes to continue the tariff regime should the Supreme Court strike down the emergency power of President Donald Trump. Okay. Now, I will like to discuss with you the legal fallback, like Section 301. Legal fallback statutes like Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, This allows the US government, specifically the US Trade Representative USTR, to investigate and respond to unfair foreign trade practices by imposing tariff and other remedies if those practices are found to harm US commerce. Okay, so these statutes used as legal fallback. Section 301, Trade Act of 1974, which I said, it authorizes the USTR to investigate unreasonable, discriminatory, or unjustifiable foreign trade action that burdens the US commerce. Now, this has to be proven. After investigation, it allows for imposition of the tariff, quotas, or other restriction on imports from the offending country. Was used extensively during Trump administration against China, especially over intellectual property disputes in his first term. This gives a broad discretion to the executive branch but has faced legal challenges over scope and procedural safeguard. Now, let's talk about Section 232. Trade Expansion Act of 1962 allows the president to impose tariff or other trade restriction if imports are found to threaten national security. Used for steel and aluminum tariff in recent years. Section 201 Trade Act of 1974 enables the temporary trade protection, which is called safeguard tariff, when increased imports seriously injure a domestic industry. Section 122 Trade Act of 1974 allows the executive branch to impose baseline tariff up to 15% on all imports for up to 150 days during international balance of payment emergencies. Now, how these fallback statutes operate? The statutes differ from presidential emergency power. They typically require findings of injury, investigation, or justification based on trade harm rather than a broad executive discretion. And right now, whether it's a Navarro, Mr. Bessent, or even the Lindsey Grahams of the world, it's all based on their discretion. Section 301 in particular provide wide latitude subject only to procedural requirement and possible litigation. So these statutes comprises the main legal fallback option for US tariff policy outside the president's emergency economic power, with section 301 being the most versatile tool for targeting specific foreign trade action. So, guys, this is where the government will fall as a plan B, which none of the channels have discussed so far. All are just fueling the emotions right now, sometime rightly so, sometime not rightly so, but an elected government is making all its move. We'll have to see how it eventually ends. So the Tariff Act of 1828. So Constitution provides all the answers for people or the countries or the embassies who would like to explore and prepare their legal answer in the American setup, because any democracy or any country of American stature, America's United States stature, is governed by the rule of law. And After the emotion dies, I'll keep on repeating. The rule of law will come into the picture. There will be a court here. There will be a legal side. Both sides will have chances to present their case. And if it takes 5 or 6 month time because of the presidential power, they could still win the case and revert back and get all the losses which they would have made. So all those options are with all the parties, and there are 90 countries, so 90 different cases. Supreme Court will be overwhelmed once these cases start. I don't know how it will work, but as the things proceed and things become more sober, hopefully some middle path will be arrived. An interesting point mentioned by this government, especially Mr. President, is that if Supreme Court overturns this tariff, it will take America to the third world economy. That is a huge statement. And if it is not stopped, then there will be an investment of $15 trillion. This is again a astronomical number which doesn't correlate with anything. So both are extreme statements. First of all, if as an elected president of America, the 47th president of America, President Donald J. Trump, if he is sitting on the data and white paper where he is seeing the economy in a state where the only way this economy could be saved by putting tariff on the 90 countries, then definitely there is something to be seriously worried about. Because from 30 trillion type of economy, if you are becoming a third world economy, which will be around less than $1 trillion economy, and then on the top of it, if America has 36 trillion debt on the head, something is definitely very wrong. Very, very wrong. So I will leave it to the users and the financial expert to brainstorm it. America has been blessed with lot of Ivy and good think tank on economics, whether it's a Columbia, Harvard, all those big names. But if the output of these thinkers and professors is what we are in the current state, then it puts a big question mark on the economy, because no president, even if even if you are above the political narrative, no president can bring the economy from a working economy to a third world economy in 6 to 9 months. That is something making me totally perplexed and confused. And then the stable coins is introduced. It is the narrative building to get the stable coin, and the government itself doing the de-dollarization, for which it is against all arms against the BRICS nation, because they are proceeding with the de-dollarization. We don't know what is the truth. The truth can never be covered, so it will soon be out. But for the users who are watching, please subscribe my channel, Gold Gappe, on the YouTube. I'll bring a lot of stories. I'm traveling also, so I can bring stories from different places. But as of now, tariff is the most trending topic being discussed, and probably being a very new channel with hardly uh, the right subscriber base. I am the first, probably, or the first one in the list to tell you the plan B option, what the government could have. So, thank you very much. Please subscribe to the Golgappe channel. Thank you.